Hey, greetings. How do you do? My name's Philip. I am here today to talk about this Sagittarius new moon solar eclipse that we have taking place at 12 degrees of Sagittarius. This is the oldest part of our sky. It is the nakshatra of Jeshwesha, where we find this new moon taking place, and it's an eclipse. It's a solar eclipse, which means the sun is being rebooted. The solar energy, which is the energy of light, it's the energy of observation, awareness, creation, whereas the lunar energy, which was the full moon, lunar eclipse, well, that's much more of a darker shade. It's much more of an internal reflection, because we recognize that the solar is out here and the lunar's in here, and so what we're looking at now is that we're having this energy rebooted. It's obviously the sun and the moon, they come together every 28 days and they create a new cycle, just like how Saturn and Jupiter do. And we just had the great conjunction a whole year ago, and so we're reflecting very much how many different belief systems and experiences have we shifted on our hero's journey since the great conjunction last winter solstice. This solar eclipse, this lunar cycle, was going to take us into the next season. It's going to take us into the winter time when we have our Capricorn cycle take place. So this is mutable fire. Mutable energy always finishes the season. Mutable energy is the changeable energy. And it's ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is moving fairly fast now. Jupiter's moving through the latter degrees of Aquarius. And it's on its third pass, because it's already gone once, it's already gone backwards, and now it's going forward for the third time. And it will be making its ingress into Pisces on the 28th of December. That's a little way off, almost, it's about 30 days, 31 days. However, we can recognize that this is a third pass for us. We're blossoming out on opportunities that are very powerful, and we're cutting ourselves free from things that aren't for us. But these things can often be perceived as physical. I've got to get rid of this shirt. I've got to get rid of that house. But it might be that we just want to change our perspective on this shirt. It might be that we are able to shift our belief system about that house. And this is a big time about really reorganizing ourselves, recognizing our etiquette, our manner, how we hold ourselves, and signing up for our own connection to the source. And yet there's other people that we're going to be in connection with, our friends, sometimes our family, our nearest and dearest often, that may choose other things from us. And yet we're all challenged right now, stifled in a way, because we've been groomed through society with regards to our belief systems, big time. When we were in 1988, as I mentioned not so many videos ago, we had a conjunction of Saturn and Uranus at the very end of Sagittarius, far from where this new moon solar eclipse takes place. It was at 28, 29 degrees that conjunction was going on. But it's about the adaptation of limiting belief systems with regards to our nationalities, with regards to our religions, with regards to the information that we've had about our bodies and the embodiment of spirit incarnate into the flesh. And so we are actually seeing that we've been growing on something that doesn't allow us to really broaden and grow as much as our potential would really allow us to. We've been working on a very limited program, a bit like working on a very old piece of technology, which is way out of date. Imagine having that Nokia 3210 still, and yet, I know, iPhone's available. But that's just a poor analogy, because there's nothing, nobody which will compare to the human vessel, especially when you get a spirit incarnate into this vessel, because it amplifies. It is a sound vibration frequency amplifier. This vehicle is a spirit vehicle. It's a Merkaba. It allows us to travel from A to B. It allows us to see old stories that are old stories, old heaviness that may be eons old, hundreds, maybe even thousands of years old. And yet we are able to shift the frequency of these dynamics. We're able to raise the octave and jump time with these old stories. We're able to nationalities? They're only recent, are these nationalities. Do you know actually that there was people who worked for the Rothschild bankers that came up with nationalities with regards to the stock markets? And this was in New York, and only it was less than 240 years ago, because it was after the birth of the United States. And we're seeing that actually we're having the Pluto return of the United States in January. And so if we're working with so many different ideologies that were put into the consciousness, like splinters, you know, when you get a splinter in your finger, imagine that these belief systems, these limiting belief systems like capitalism, like nationalities, like race. I mean, I ain't in no hurry. Yeah, some places it could be considered the white man or the gringo, but we're all here spirits, first and foremost, incarnate into flesh, which if didn't have skin would just be all the slime, all of the different innards, all of our different organs. We're all the same, you and I. And yet we are divided and conquered by the mind, because people have made things battle us. Like, oh, what are you getting in that Black Friday queue today? What are you getting in that line for yesterday? What have you got off Amazon for yourself? Because we're competing. Did you get the nicest things? All of these different things divided and conquered through languages, through the lack of truth that we've actually managed to come into, which Sagittarius is all about. It's about truth. You are the truth. You are the way. We always have been. We always shall be. And yet we're also faith. Faith is more powerful than these belief systems. I mean, we could call them just pure BS. A belief system can get you from here to there, but it only is something which can carry you for so long. You can find that we're always adapting. We are the great adapters. And so it is an adaptation of a symphonic orchestration, which is really the true narration of our own authority when it comes down to our hero's journey. And so are you, or am I, going to be dictated to by these prior stories that we had stuck onto us, labels given to us, like you're a boy, you're a man, you've got to wear blue. You know, you're a boy, you've got to play with the trains and the diggers. You girls, we want you to play with the dollies. These things are outdated. These things don't serve our divine energy. You could call it the divine masculine and divine feminine. Let's just recognize it through an astrological lens, through our highest, richest, deepest connection to our Venus, to our richest and deepest connection to our Mars, to all of the planets which are our archetypes, which reflect the chakras within our solar plexus. We recognize that we are the whole solar system. Within us, we are all inclusive. And so all energies, whether they're masculine, feminine, whether they're this nationality part of the culture expression, or whether it's this part of the cultural expression, it's great to have different dynamics, because we're from far and wide. The length and breadth of us is longer than time, because we're infinite beings. And so we have the infinite potential to deconstruct these limiting belief systems that separate and divide us. But the beautiful thing about maths, the beautiful thing about this matrix, this hall of mirrors, the Maya, is that any problem through division can be solved through multiplication. Because we multiply with the amount of compassion, with the amount of love, with the amount of acceptance and forgiveness that we can have when we see these different divisions. We're like, oh my goodness, just look at this old man or this older lady. I have compassion for them having to really take their time as they're crossing the road in the wind and the rain. It's really cold out here today in England. We have compassion. And yet there's no division when we find compassion. We're like, oh, well, I can extend an opportunity to carry their bags for them, or to let a lady with their children, or a man with their children go before us, because obviously they've got more of a burden. They've got more going on than what I may have. Maybe it's a different nationality. I mean, we might not speak the same language, but we can have eye contact, maybe a smile. This is the time where we let go of so many divisions. This is the time where we recognize that, yes, it's all a sum. And any problem is there because it's about scarcity. It's about squeezing. It's about, ooh, I'm prepared for something I've got to fight for because I'm feeling finite. I'm not feeling infinite. However, there ain't nothing to fight for when we recognize that it all is a reflection of the love of that which we are. We might be challenged. We may have the opportunity to respond with love. But when we can breathe, which is a practice, when we can find the opportunity to accept, which is our practice, it's our daily bread, our body, and we can find in our daily operations, in our daily rituals and routines, in our practices, we can anchor a frequency of rapport with ourselves and each other. The connection externally as well as the connection internally will allow us to build a certain rapport. And as we report back with love, as we hold a space for faith, we let go of all of the BS belief systems. They just fall away. They just fall away as we discover the love beneath the surface level and come with that compassion, show up with that acceptance. Because the more that we practice and labor away with these changes and be the change that which we choose, we find that all of these things that may be feeling like a little bit of a squeeze or may not be for us just fall away. And it's our right of privilege. That conjunction of Uranus and Saturn was a 44-year cycle that began right at the end of Sagittarius in 1988-89. So we are 2/3 of the way through that cycle, 270 degrees into this cycle. We now have Saturn in Aquarius. We now have Uranus in Taurus. When they were just 90 degrees apart, they were in the flip. It was Uranus back in Aquarius. It was Saturn back in Taurus. Then they had their opposition after 22 years. Now we've had 33 years. There's only 11 years to go before they meet again. And they meet again in Gemini. 180 degrees opposite where they met last time. And so this is a very beautiful part of our cycle as we recognize that wherever you are, whoever you are, whatever age, whatever dynamic that you choose to love, we're able to close down these old stories. We were chosen, especially when we recognize that we were fully and we are fully equipped as we choose ourselves to be the story changers, to be the Lord of the dance, to be the packers away of that which doesn't serve us, that we're not going to pass on to our children, to their children. The buck stops with us because why? We're the embankment of love. We are the foundation. In fact, we are the bank. We don't need to go outside begging because you're full of the infinite source of creation. So thank you for recognizing yourself. Thank you for holding a space for yourself as we come off the back of this Taurian lunar eclipse, moving through the next few days towards this Sagittarius, that was a full moon lunar eclipse. Now we have our new moon solar eclipse, and that's happening in a few days. We're going to get into it. I'm going to bring the chart up on the screen. Thank you for listening to that. I don't know where it's coming from. Where do these things coming from? We just got to open up. We are full of it. Thank you for being present. I see you, Salma, Ahmed, Paul, Durran, and Less Ego Story, Asa Clubs and Natalia, and Stephen, the Jupiterian. I'm grateful for all of your contributions. Dr. Sky Consultancy, you're all a bunch of brilliant stars. I'm grateful for you. If you would like a personal consultation with me, you can follow the links in the description box below. We will go through all of the transits in application to your unique personal birth chart. And what we can do is actually apply for the next couple of years all of the energies in application to your chart so that you know that you're able to make the most of them. I'm just a reflection, just a reminder, just a mirror calling back to say, hey, you have all of the keys, all of the frequencies inside of you. And I'll hold that space in a one-on-one interaction. We actually record our interaction too, so you can play it back. You have a record of this reading so you can use it for your studies as you move on as your own astrologer into the following days. I'm here to serve you. All you need to do is follow the links in the description box below, and we will arrange a mutually beneficial time to connect. Right. Thank you for your connections. You're all deeply and dearly appreciated. Equally so, no favoritism here. Right, what we're going to do is pull things up on the screen. I was really pleased. Actually, one of these things I've got to say before I get this on the go. It was a great election to do the chart, to do this video at this time. And I always like to play, and sometimes you just don't always get to elect the chart. Sometimes you're like, right, this is my window, this is my opportunity, I've got consultations there, I've got busy things here. So you just come along and you do your video, or you come along and do your yoga, or you come along and do your consultation, right? But many people will book a consultation with me so that they can elect the perfect chart for moving house, or for getting married, or for taking their child to get baptized, or whatever it may be. We can elect a chart for anything, for starting your business, for releasing your new website, whatever it is. And so when I looked at the beginning of the chart, the ascendant for where I am here, we actually have the ruler of the ascendant at the top of the sky, which is what you want for an ideal chart election. Yes, Taurus was rising here at 22 degrees in a harmonic trine to Venus, which is the top of the sky here currently, in Capricorn at 18 degrees, making a sextile back to Mars in Scorpio, but also Venus in a conjunction with Pluto. And so the ascendant ruler is top of the sky by the midheaven, which is what you would want for any chart election. So I'm just really pleased with the moment. It just turned out perfect. Often they do, don't they? Right, let me get that chart on the screen so you can see what I was talking about. Obviously, I don't have the ascendant or the IC on the screen. We're just going to look at the natural zodiac and working through. But it's very interesting, as I mentioned, like, as I say, Venus is actually top of the sky here. We have Capricorn in the 9th house. So it's appropriate that I share this message with you on this international platform. But not only that, we see that Venus is actually in a conjunction with Pluto, and it's going to be like that for the next 5 weeks or so. It's only going to get more and more tight. In fact, it will be within 2 degrees for a full 3 weeks. However, Venus is still making the sextile to Mars, as mentioned. So we do have this harmonic opening, and that's very beautiful. In fact, we also have Venus making a sextile to Neptune and Mars trine Neptune. So it's a lovely trine double sextile energy in the sky. But we see also Mars is making this applying square in the fixed signs to Jupiter. And so this is a massive activation. It's the last of these activations. Mercury threaded its way through here just over a week ago, and the Sun did also way before we had the new moon, the full moon. And so, yes, we're actually experiencing the 3rd quarter moon right now. We're between the eclipses. Exactly. This is an eclipse portal. The moon is squaring the Sun and Mercury. It's just coming off of that square, actually. That was perfect just a few hours ago. And the moon in Mercury's sign of Virgo, with the North Node also squaring the moon in Mercury's other sign of Gemini in these moments now. But Mercury itself made ingress into Sagittarius on Mercury's day, Mercules, or as the French call it, Mercredi. We call it Wednesday over here in the West, but Mercury is going to be in Sagittarius until December the 13th. But it's at its fall traditionally in Sagittarius, because Mercury's in Gemini, all about this and that, and maybe even the triplicity of coming into the central fold of between this and that, and seeing both, as well as seeing the fine-tuned details, the very many details in Virgo where the moon is. But while Mercury is in Sagittarius, it's a bit like, wow, overwhelmed with this expansive nature. It's blooming, full of the opportunity to expand and broaden the observations, but yet it is underneath the beams of the Sun. Mercury, as we shall see, makes its interior conjunction with the Sun in just about 24 hours. So I'll move this sky clock forward 24 hours. The moon's still in Virgo. In 24 hours, it shall be 180 degrees opposite of Neptune, which is just about to station in the coming days. So this is a very powerful time. When any planet stations, it's a powerful time. But this moon opposite Neptune and the Mars trining Neptune and the Venus sextile Neptune is really building to something. We see that this conjunction of Mercury and the Sun is exact at 7 degrees. So let's move it forward a little bit further. We have the Cazimi, which will last about 40 minutes when we actually see that Mercury is in the heart of the sun. And that is happening late into tomorrow, depending where you are, late into the sun's day. But it goes exact at 7 degrees here. And so hopefully, I do intend that I'm asleep by the time that takes place. We'll have the moon trining Venus and Pluto in the latter half of yesterday until we get the void moon very late into the day. And so there you go. The moon will go into Libra by the moon's day on Monday after we've had this interior conjunction, which I will talk about a little bit more now. The interior conjunction is when Mercury flies between the sun and the earth. And so it's interior, not rather inferior. It's no less than the superior, which is when the sun, when Mercury's flying above the sun and the earth. And so what is this? It's about Icarus. It's the burning away of useless information, old stories, old belief systems. Remember, it's in Sagittarius. So we're quantifying different information. This is by the South Node, by 6 degrees. The tail are old stories. All of the different cellular membrane which we carry has a story. So many different layers does K2 carry, the tail of the dragon. This is our collective stories that each individually we are weeding because we're gardeners. We're the cosmic clearance team that choose to give ourselves permission to let go and clear all of the heaviness, all of the doubts. Oh, my goodness. Don't we just no doubt? No diggity. We all no doubt, and sometimes it can be a great guide for us about what we're able to let go of and transmute within our experience. And when you do it for you, not only do you do it for your past selves, your past lives, if you will, you're also doing it for your future lives. You're doing it for the whole collective. We are always doing it for the whole because we are the whole. We're just doing it from our own vantage point, from our own witness point, from our observational perspectives. And so this is very powerful for us. And so, as I say, this is happening in Sagittarius. This is actually the summary, you could suggest, of the year's retrogrades in the air signs. Firstly, we had Mercury retrogress through the very beginning of Pisces to the end of Aquarius, and then through its home sign of Gemini, and most recently through Libra. And now we have this interior conjunction of Mercury flying by the sun and shall overtake the sun before the moon makes ingress into Libra. And so it's going to be late on to the moon's day. We're going to have the moon opposite Chiron. It could be considered early on to the Tuesday, the last day of November. And so what we're looking at is this apprehension, this awkwardness, this I'm my own hero. My activations might be like, I feel like a little bit of a hindrance. I feel a little bit awkward, but this is a new journey. I'm going for it. We're just going beyond. Like Mercury has moved beyond the sun, although still beneath the beams, not visible. Not visible until it reaches 10 degrees away from the sun, which will be well into the next Sagittarian lunar cycle, which we're here to talk about. But we can recognize that this is holding ourselves, nurturing ourselves, healing old stories as we move through into December. And so this is Tuesday, moving on into Mercury's day. We still have the moon in Libra making trine to, firstly, on Tuesday, it's making a trine to Saturn, and then it does the trine to Jupiter. And so we keep on moving, and we'll have it by Thursday move into the dark phase of the moon, opposing Uranus in Scorpio. But at this time, you can see that Mars is starting to, although it's still sextiles Venus, Venus is creeping closer and closer to Pluto in Capricorn. Venus in its shadow phase, since 11 degrees of Capricorn, will be moving back over these spaces twice more. And so we can recognize this is a part of a story which we are adapting. We're recognizing different facets of our experience, and we're choosing to love ourselves through the eye of the needle, through the keyhole, if you will. And yet, this is a calling for radical adaptation. As I say, we're shifting ourselves. We're changing our story. Mars making the sextile not only to Venus, but also to its deeper vibrational octave Pluto. So this is a very karmic time. This is a very healing time as we see the moon make ingress into Sagittarius over its own south node, joining the sun for what shall be this solar eclipse. Mercury is still 3 degrees away. We recognize that it does make a quincunx to the retrograde Uranus. It is very wide of K2, but this is a South Node solar eclipse. This is the last one of 18.5 months of eclipses in the polarity of Sagittarius and Gemini. So it's a culmination phase. It's a very big culmination phase, and it relates so big to this square. I'm going to show you the square very briefly of this Saturn and Jupiter. Focus now, if you can, look on your eyes on this production. We see Saturn here, where I'm wiggling the mouse at 9 degrees, and it's coming forwards to the 10th degree, whereas Uranus, making the square to Saturn, it's an 88-degree square already. That's tight. Well, it's actually a 92-degree square, excuse me. It's tight. And so as Uranus edges back and Saturn edges forward, it's getting more and more tight over the course of the coming weeks. Let me just move it forward a week or two, and we'll see that they come more and more close. And then you've got the exact square again on Christmas Day. That's my solar return chart. And so that's tight, but it's about innovation, radical shifts and changes with regards to these belief systems that we have placed value in. And so it is actually calling for a sense of genius and pioneering. And the permission slip or the advantage goes to those that aren't trying to fit in with the old traditions, which is Capricorn. And Saturn rules Capricorn, but Saturn isn't in Capricorn. Saturn's giving support to the alternative shifts. It's in Aquarius, and it's a challenge. It's just not like it slides in easy. It's like, hey, it's jarring, it's shifty to go out and start a business that's never been done before. Isn't it more sensible, if you could say, or more Capricorn, to do a tried and tested template that we know is going to bring in a profit? Or are you trusting your intuition and your guidance? And you are the prophet, you are the fortune, you're a visionary, and we're expanding on these gifts within ourselves rather than the evidence externally. We're trusting on our own accountability from within. This is where we find our greatest advantage. This is where we find Uranus in Taurus. And remember, Venus in a conjunction with Pluto, exactly at the time of this square, is exact. This is powerful. As we say, Venus is pretty much slowing down. It stops at 26 degrees. Actually, it already stopped at 26 degrees. It's already retrograde, you see, because I just wanted to share this square. This is December the 26th. We're already into the lunar cycle. Actually, we've already had the full moon in Gemini by this point. We're just focusing on this square, though. And now what we'll do is we'll bring it back. So this square is coming tight, and it's relevant to the eclipse portal because it's all about the cycle which began in Sagittarius. And the South Node going through Sagittarius this past 18 months has been very beneficial in recognizing this shift. And so we'll come back and we'll see that Saturn opposed Uranus in Libra and Aries. So we'll bring it back. Here it was. Was it Libra and Aries? It clearly was Virgo and Pisces, excuse me. And it was an opposition here. I think they opposed each other 3 times, actually, if I'm correct, in this stage. And so that was the opposition, but we actually had the square in the same signs as they were now. If you see, Saturn's in Taurus and Uranus is actually in Aquarius, almost at exactly the same degrees as they are square this year, all year long. And in fact, they square for a vast part of next year as well, but they don't go exact. This is the last time they're exact on Christmas Day. And so that's still within this lunar cycle that we're about to be starting, which is moving from this eclipse portal back to, back to this Sagittarius lunar cycle. But if we go back to 1988, just briefly to give this the context, we see that this was a conjunction that took place, and it was this cycle which we're now closing out. And so it is very important to recognize that we are letting go of Sagittarius limiting belief systems, which we grew up into, or maybe you were working with because you might be a bit older than myself. You may be, I don't know, a decade or two, or maybe 3 decades older than me. So you were born into these belief systems, but they've been changing. And now we are the changing team. We're the cleanup team. It's our permission that gets to clear them, because we aren't going to be squeezed into boxes that are more severe than the ones that we've already been living in. We're here to say, hey, no, I'm excusing myself. I don't have to beg. I don't have to plead. I just choose. I just choose me and you and acceptance. There's no need to fight. There's just love and compassion. We ain't finite. We're infinite loving beings. We are the source. This happened at the galactic center pretty much at 28 degrees of Sagittarius. And so what we're finding now, that this was Mula, the next chakra. Yes, the new moon takes place at 12 degrees in Jeshwasha, but the next one along's Mula, which is a rite of passage. So this is our rite of passage. As we bring this back to the present, it's our rite of passage to work with this next 11 years. And in this moment now, as we find that we are the closing cycle, we are the closing square, this the next 11 years, our adaptation, these next moments, these next days is our choice. This Venus retrograde, this lunar cycle, building towards it as we move into it, we are finding that we're not going to have to live in these squeeze limiting dictations no more, especially when you open, as we open to choose ourselves through the love that which we have been seeking externally, and we can receive it direct from our core, because that is what we haven't really had a celebration of. If you remember my video about the last time Saturn, Pluto and Jupiter were in Capricorn, there was this very big movement put in place by the Knights Templar to release us from the direction of the compass, of our own interior connection to our feelings and the honoring of our guts and our intuition. Your intuition is nothing but your higher self. Our intuition is nothing but our overall arcing observation from our soul's perspective. And yet we've been told that you're mad if you listen to the inner calling. We've been told that you're mad if you speak to yourself. But actually, this is the richest, beautiful way to anchor frequencies of love. And so we're rediscovering our connection to the source. We're rediscovering that we are that source and we are the connection to it. So thank you for honoring yourself through this moments now. We see that this lunar cycle does make a trine to Chiron. And so again, it's like, oh, how do I move forward? No one's shown me. Well, you are showing yourself. We are able to show and lead with the change that which we choose to lead with. And that is very powerful for us. It's an integration process. It's a process of breaking free, but we don't have to fight. We don't have to break. All we have to do is stand up as a frequency of resounding love and acceptance and organize ourselves without looking for a television, without looking for permission externally, but recognizing that we are that permission. We are the gateway. We are the truth. And that's what I've got to say about that. Thank you for holding space, intending that you resonate. If you don't, obviously eat the fruit. What works for you is good. Spit out the pips. You don't have to like everything that I said. Astrology is an artistic tool of observation. I'm here to guide you. I actually do astrology mentorship. If you make a purchase for a consultation, all of the time that you purchase with me, I'm here to empower you to your own connection. In fact, one of my clients paid for me to be her mentor by the hour, and she started taking clients herself now, and she's really enjoying it. Really great work, Catherine. Much respect to you. Astrology is for everybody. The more that we empower ourselves and one another, the more exciting it is. Very good it is. And I say that we are able to follow our gifts. We're able to follow our passions, and it's our gifts and our passions and our joys, our habits, our crafts that become our greatest source for fortune and talents and making money and profiteering. And so whatever your vocational aptitude is, it's in your chart, it's in your heart, and it's probably your art. And I'm here to just recognize and say, hey, you are good enough. You are empowered. The opportunity is yours to make the most of. So if you want a consultation with me, all the information is in the description box below. We'll pull your chart up on the screen just like we did a moment ago, and we'll see what we can do to empower you along your journey. I'm going to pull in cards for the 12 signs of the Zodiac, So thank you for sticking about. I'm going to tell you something else, though. I had an ambition for many years to be able to teach astrology workshops. I mean, I've been doing it online. I did it with Nadia Shah and her synchronicity workshop in the summer. Great stuff. But to do it in person, to connect in circles, to be able to, read people's charts with them in person as a group, learning together, maybe even doing some yoga and dancing, this type of thing. Well, a year ago, I went to Mexico and I lived there for a whole year. I didn't have any savings. All I had was my craft as an astrologer. Doing the consultations online was all I had to survive. I didn't have any savings, but I stayed there for a whole year. Not only that, I managed to do probably about 30 astrology workshops on the beach at really fancy hotels with great groups of people. I met so many people passionate about astrology in Mexico, from all over the world, and spiritual openings and connections. It was brilliant. Whereas in the UK here, it was kind of like, nobody really wanted to talk about astrology. You might think, what are you talking about yourself? Because I'm giving you a leading example. Because in January, I'm going to be leading a festival with Kay Patcher, Santos Bonacci, Erin Wage, Dylan, the spirit advisor, in Tulum, Mexico, all together on one lineup over 3 days. So stay tuned to hear more about that. I asked Lada if she would be a part of it, and I asked a few other people, Kaylin, if they'd be a part of it. But obviously the world's a big old place. I'm returning to Mexico next week, so if you are curious, stay tuned to hear more about that great event. It's very exciting, and obviously a dream come true for me. And the reason I tell you, not just because I'm selling, not particularly, it's because I'm buying into myself, and I'm encouraging you to buy into yourself too. If I can work with people that I've watched on YouTube, like Lada, like Nadia, like Kepatra, like Santos, and I've watched those guys for years, for decades. If I can get to work with them in person and have them as my peers, my colleagues, my equals, then you can do anything too. You can do anything that you want to do. Whether you want to be a creative singer, a dancer, an artist, whatever it is. If it's your joy, just show up every day and practice. Labor away with love, and you are good enough to do it. So thank you for recognizing yourself. Right, without further ado, we're going to crack on. I see you there, Liana and Aurora Fire and Stephen the Jupiterian, Seeking Truth. Oh, I'm grateful for all of you, Manouche and Alexandra Hemmings. I'm grateful for all of you brilliant beings. You're all equally appreciated. We're going to get into these cards now. Right, Sagittarius. Yes, we're starting with Sagittarius. We're going to go all the way through Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, and Scorpio. We're within this Scorpio lunar cycle now. We're just closing it out. I'm grateful for you, Breezy Windflower and Aurora Star and Seeker of Truth. Right, let's get into the cards. Sagittarius, you're first. This is a lunar cycle beginning at 12 degrees of your first house, and it's a solar eclipse. And so we're taking the plug out of the sun and we're rebooting it, just like when a computer's been on for too many days and we've got to restart it. It's going to be loading up our creativity in a whole new way, and it's very exciting, isn't it? Just we recognize that the sun rules your 9th house. Yes, and this means that we have Cancer in your 8th house. Okay, so that's exciting to be aware of. There we go. Bear with me one moment. So Sagittarius, this is a very powerful opportunity to work with your belief systems that nurture you in your personal relationships and collaborations. I mean, sometimes we work with people that have got different belief systems to us. Sometimes we fall in love with different people who've got different family orientations, different opportunities to discover ourselves and break down some of these belief systems that I just spent ages talking about. So Sagittarius, you are the great expanded one. You are the Jupiterian. And so whatever's impacted upon you, even if you feel like it was a squeeze or if you felt like it was a pull, might have knocked you off course. Whatever has impacted upon you has only made you more strong, only made you more wise. It's only been beneficial for the expansion upon your hero's journey. And so Sagittarius, with this lunar eclipse taking place in your 1st house and your ruling planet Jupiter, still it's good. still making its way through your third house in Aquarius, this is a great opportunity to shift your consciousness. And sometimes you just got to let go, accept, and surrender. Sometimes that's the solution. If you're just seeking, it's real tense. If you're just finding like, oh, I've got to go this, I can't choose, I've got to go like that, that can be a little bit tense. You're not going to find the solution that way. It's a problem that we're working with. However, when we breathe into the surrender, I went to yoga this morning and he kept talking about surrender. That's the Hanged Man. It's surrender which is activating the opportunity to just allow things to be and recognize that when things be, a bit like a pond which you can't see through, if you just allow it to be, sometimes all of those bits that were floating around settle and you can see straight through it. Clarity. The Hanged Man for Sagittarius new moon, solar eclipse at 12 degrees of your first house, as well as bottom of the pack. Woo! Sagittarius. The 9. You're the 9th sign. The 9 of Pentacles. And so this is a very valuable opportunity to surrender to the shifts and changes of your own belief systems, whether they be limiting or strengthening the faith you can have for yourself along your journey. Very nice, Hanged Man, and 9 of Pentacles for Sagittarius, new moon solar eclipse, 12 degrees of your first house. Brilliant. I'm grateful for you, Alexandra Ramirez and Zena. So nice, they named her twice. I'm grateful for you, Zena. And Amy Lynn, thank you each. Earth, Wind, and Fire, thank you all for being your magnificent, brilliant selves. Next, we got Capricorn. Well, Capricorn, your ruling planet is actually in your second house. It's at Saturn at 9 degrees. And so you're recognizing that this is a big time right now. We spoke about Saturn squaring Uranus. And Uranus is going to be, well, it's in your third house. Capricorn, excuse me. It's in your fifth house. And so this is a massive shift with regard. Oh, no, excuse me. It is in your Capricorn. Let me just get my angles right. Goodness gracious me. Yes, it is in your fifth house. I was correct because Uranus, because Saturn in your second house. So this is about the value of your creativity, Capricorn, that you're challenged by. And yet because this lunar cycle is a solar eclipse, it begins in your 12th house of endings and the collective consciousness happening in the oldest part of the sky. It is there, Capricorn. It's about, hey, I've got time to make changes. I haven't missed the opportunity. I'm here within the earth of my own atmospherics, right on time. You are the Lord of time, are you not, Capricorn? And so with Venus and Pluto in your first house and this Sagittarian 12th house solar eclipse taking place, what can you find that you're able to let go of, reboot and restart with regards to your own consciousness? How can you find the opportunity to see that it's your day-to-day rituals and routines and the way that you speak and consider yourself that allows you to make the greatest shift of your conscious awareness, that allows you to let go of so many belief systems? Maybe you felt you weren't recognized, weren't good enough, couldn't or shouldn't. But now you recognize you can, you are, and you have been, and so you're only going to continue to bloom full of potential. And this is a great connection to the cosmos, which you bestow, obviously. And you can find that this is a great way to let go of any of these limitations. The sun, which is rebooting, is actually ruling your sixth house, right? So for Sagittarius, it's the fifth house. Goodness gracious me. I really rushed that, didn't I? So we're recognizing that you are able to really shift your day-to-day rituals and routine. This is why Capricorn is like so persistently consistent with regards to its stuff that it's doing with itself. And it's like shows up every single day consistently within its routine, like the sun is set on its routine. And so with Capricorn, you can find that this is a massive shift with regards to the dynamics of your personal relationships and the way that you connect with yourself and other people, right? And that can be very powerful for you. And so the card which we got, well, goodness gracious me, these are so beautiful. We got the Ace of Cups. Beautiful, huh? This is like the hearts, the Ace of Hearts. You can be overflowing with the emotional connection. Again, the 12th house is very watery and cosmic, right? So it's a new beginning with regards to your own emotional connection to the universe. And that's like, wow, I am the source. I'm really full of it. I'm rich. I'm abundant. I am totality. And in this recognition of self, goodness gracious, you can just say it's a whole new beginning, right? You've got the Ace of Cups and the Ace of Wands. Goodness gracious me, it's the Ace of Clubs and the Ace of Hearts. This is a new beginning in your connection to the cosmos, in your own rapport with yourself, in your connections with other people, in the way that you felt perceived emotionally by others. You're changing the script by listening to your emotional arc, and yet by playing it out a different way and responding with love and contentment and compassion, you're able to love yourself out of the old stories and change and adapt them as the great adapter, as the authority, as the script rewriter. This is the change. This is how we have faith and let go of the belief systems. This is how we let go of the mind and the quagmire. This is how we get into the consciousness of our own story. Ace of Cups and the Ace of Wands for a new moon solar eclipse in the 12th house for Capricorn. Goodness gracious me, Capricorn. That's pretty fantastic, if you ask me. I love it. You excuse me a minute with regards to what I'm doing over here, fiddling about. You know, it's all worth it. It's all worth it. How are you doing with this Virgo moon? I want to know what's going on for you guys with regards to this first quarter lunar cycle directly between the eclipses. So much has been going on for me. So many different changes have been going on. It's radical. It's exciting. I'm going to let you in on some so that you can find the opportunity to share yours. And so here we go. I went to my grandmother's funeral the day before the eclipse, right? And that was quite a thing, quite a repackaging, quite a letting go. However, the service that was on there before was my mum's ex-husband. We didn't even know. That was a shock. Why? Well, Mars was in Scorpio, Mars the man in the sign of death, opposite Uranus, shocking change. So that was a shift. Not only that, I've been here in different country, and it's like really seeing how far you've come. When you do the Fool's Return home and you're reconnecting with different spirits, kindred spirits, cosmic lovers, and the connection with parents, it's just such a shift. So how has it been shifting for you guys? How have you been connecting between these eclipses? I mean, I'm shifting back to Mexico in a few days, and yet that's before this new moon solar eclipse. And so there's massive shifts and energies going on. How's it working for you? I'll be interested to hear in the comments below. I see you in the live chat. Galactic Love, thank you for your contributions. And Quantum Love 8. Right, next we got Aquarius. Yes, Aquarius, this is a new moon solar eclipse in your 11th house. Goodness gracious gosh. And what we're looking at is actually that this is a grand opportunity to recreate your perspective as well as feel into the nurturing of your emotions in your day-to-day experiences, especially when you're connecting with different people within your spheres of influence. That activates your genius, obviously, Aquarius. That's what you're all about. You're all about the energy of sharing, connection, supporting others, lifting people up as they lift you up. You know, when you introduce someone who knows someone who knows someone, you make the stars shine brighter than they can possibly do without you, Aquarius. And so what we got was the Two of Wands. This is a new direction, maybe new interactions, new communications, but certainly an activation with regards to your identity in your community, in your networking. The 11th house is where Sagittarius falls for Aquarius. And so maybe it's about how people shift their belief systems, or you are shifting your belief systems. Maybe you felt a little isolated and that you would never be able to meet a group of friends that accept you. But now you just put yourself out there boldly because you know your value, and yet actually other people embrace you. You're like, I want to speak to you, Aquarius. I want to connect with you. I see your worth. And so this is very powerful. Two of Wands, and as we say, the sun rules the 7th house. Leo is the 7th house for Aquarius, and we got here 7 swords. So this is changing how we perceive as we recreate our projections, our assumptions. We'll make an ass out of ourselves if we assume too much. But with a solar eclipse, it's like pulling the plug on them. It's allowing them to be drained away. Any of these old stories that aren't going to be continued on perpetually into the dragging of the next experience. Oh, God, it's a drag when we carry on these old stories. It's a right old carry on, a right old palaver. We pull the wool over our own eyes. And so what we have the opportunity to do is to let go of the weight, let go of the hold up. I've been purging every day. As we let go of these old identifications of these old stories, we find that we are the narration of the new story. And that is recognizing our value as well as those opposite us, which reflect our tale. Woohoo! Speak to yourself nearly and dearly, support yourself, and create a new way of observing yourself and others, because you are worthy. 2 of Wands and the 7 of Swords. Recognize Venus rules the 2nd sign and the 7th sign. This is very powerful with regards to the transmutation of your limiting belief systems and the value of who you are. Next, we got Pisces. Oh, we got Pisces. Yes, indeed you do. This is about recognizing yourself. Obviously, we're really seeing that there's a massive clear up with regards to old stories, old limitations, old belief systems. Jupiter's in your 12th house, going through its 3rd pass in Aquarius. But this lunar cycle, well, it starts in Jupiterian sign of Sagittarius at the 10th, in the 10th house, the pinnacle, the tippity top of your sky. And so right now you're looking at your role in the world. What do you believe about your role in the world? Are you starting a whole new journey? It feels like you might be closing out an old journey and starting a new one. So what is the position you're going to play for yourself, and how are you going to contribute? How are you going to make it fun? How are you going to enjoy yourself in a way that's never before been done? Maybe this means that it's about shifting a belief or an ideal or an idea about something that's been a template of yours for a certain amount of time. But in doing so, you liberate yourself to a tremendous amount of opportunities and expansion that which you probably aren't even able to observe at this stage. But as you accept and have faith, it can open up and you can find and discover so many new potentials. And so we have this for Pisces, as I say, in the 10th house, but the sun rules your 6th house. And so it's your day-to-day rituals and routines that we're going to be repackaging. It's like, hey, I'm going to just do things a different way. You've never, ever got a yoga pass, so you get one. You have never been going out to cafes, so you do start to, because you want to start meeting people and sharing and connecting. And in doing this, you find that it broadens your opportunities to find yourself. It broadens your opportunities to recognize who you are and the value of your own experience. The moon, obviously, ruling your 5th. It's about being creative and nurturing yourself in your day-to-day rituals and routines that gives you this new opportunity in the world. And so we got the 7 of Pentacles. It's about the value of yourself, recognition. This 3rd quarter moon's taking place in your 7th house. And yet, this is really about seeing the practical nature of how you can feel substantial, how you can feel, in a sense, recognized and worthy of being able to go and do certain things. You think, oh, it's not for me. Yes, it is. As long as you grant yourself permission, you can see that you are able to adapt your perspective and honor other people's value as well when you show up for yourself. And we've got the 5 wands as well. Again, an activation of your creativity. It's a new moon. The moon rules your 5th house. This can be a very spectacular time to step into your own inspiration and feel at home with yourself. And in doing that, you shift the narration of your experience, and how you feel about yourself and other people will change their opinion of you also. So you got the 7 of Pentacles and the 5 of Wands for the new moon in your 10th house, which is a solar eclipse at 12 degrees of Sagittarius for Pisces. Thank you, Lois. I'm grateful for your comments. And Kundalini Perdomino, if that's how you say your name, and Angel 33. Thank you all for your presence, your spectacular bunch of beings. Next, we got Aries. We got a new moon solar eclipse in fellow fiery sign of Sagittarius, which is your 9th house. Oh, yes, indeed, Aries. It's your 9th house. But Sagittarius, this is obviously broadening, expanding, maybe an opportunity for travel. Maybe you're going up above and beyond in learning something new, Aries. It could be a kickstart, a new motivation. As I say, it's a new moon solar eclipse. So it's rebooting your solar flare, your solar fire. But Mars is your ruling planet. And Mars is in Scorpio in your 8th house, making a sextile to Venus at this time. And Venus being in your 10th house. And so this can be a massive shift with regards to the people that you're collaborating with. Maybe you're collaborating with people in international lands, or maybe it's all over the world and you're doing it online. Regardless, this connection which you're sharing, this collaborative effort which you're going into is allowing you to really have a shift of your own awareness. And Mars, obviously, will go into Sagittarius in the not too distant future as well. But this is about broadening and expanding the wealth of your wisdom and your perspective. We got the Ace of Swords this time. Obviously, this is very powerful, how you nurture yourself through your creative projects, through your hero's journey. This is for Aries, and it's a new moon in Sagittarius at 12 degrees of your 9th house. We got the Ace of Swords and the Queen. Oh, the courteous Queen of Pentacles. This is a very practical way to honor your value. You should be receiving as you just show up for yourself. You can be the great attractor and draw in all the resources towards you that you shall need, whether it's the people, all the places, or even it could be the money, or even the tools. You're fully equipped because you are the resource. And so when you show up for yourself and hold a strong stance on the value of your philosophy in life and who you are and who you're sharing your energy with, then you'll recognize that you're fully equipped. You'll never go without. So don't doubt. Keep investing. Keep honoring. Keep recognizing that you are worthy, Aries. And so this is a new moon in Sagittarius at 12 degrees of your 9th house. And we've got the Ace of Swords and the Queen of Pentacles. Ooh, there you go. Next, we got Taurus. I wonder if the ascendant's still Taurus here. I reckon it's probably Gemini, because I've been talking for an hour and it started and it was about 22 degrees, which meant that the ascendant's been trining Venus and Pluto. Then it would have gone into Gemini, no doubt. Regardless, Taurus, this is a new moon in your 8th house, and it's a solar eclipse, dear. It's a solar eclipse, and so this is very powerful for you. Your ruling planet Venus has been transit in your 9th house for a little while, and it's going to be there all the way until March. And so it's slowing down as Venus. It makes a sextile to Mars. It's in a conjunction with Pluto for the majority of this whole lunar cycle. And this starts in your 8th house. It's a massive transformation, obviously, of the philosophy and the belief systems that you share with different people that you're collaborating with. And so this is a great time to excrete old projections, to transmute the old feelings, and to go into the empowerment of a new faith, a new support structure. We support ourselves when we have faith in ourselves, and we recognize that we are the embankment. And yet sometimes it's about ideas. Sometimes we're like, oh, I can't talk about that. Well, maybe we'll shift our belief system. And then we learn that talking about that gives us a lot of nurturing, gives us a lot of well-being in our day-to-day experiences. We do find, Taurus, that we have the sun ruling Leo, is your 4th house. You know, you want to nurture your creativity, but the moon rules your 3rd house. So we're finding that we're rebooting the opportunity to find our own inner interior connection to the source, as well as a nurturing way of communicating our feelings. Let's say the moon, this is a new moon, rules your 3rd house, and we've got the 3 of Cups, and yet this is a opposite. Is where we have our Venus transit, but we have the new moon taking place in your 8th house. And so this is a rebirth. This is a brand new, what you thought was the end. It might have just been a new beginning with regards to your connection to other people that you're collaborating with. At 8th house, new moon, solar eclipse is incredibly karmic with Venus, your ruling planet, just about to retrograde in Capricorn in 9th house. This might have really shift your belief systems about yourself and those people that you're connecting with nearly, dearly, oh so sincerely. 3 cups and 2 of cups. Look at that. Beautiful, right? Sometimes it's our emotions that we project onto others. Sometimes it's other people's emotions that they project onto us. But when we hold a space and respond with love, we can deal with anything and respond rather than spilling our cups. We can respond gently, accepting, forgiving, working together. And sometimes it's the tale that we know and the opportunity to hold a space and to unpack these stories together with a being that we are able to trust. That can be the dearest way to work with our shadows, because it's those other people that we project onto, and holding a space as a canvas for them to project onto us, but still being able to respond with love and communicate emotionally, transparently, authentically. That's what shifts the story. This is what shifts our belief system. This is what gives us more love if we're able to hold that space, if we're not playing cat and mouse, and we're both accepting ourselves. Well, that's medicine, man. Oh man, we're an omen for each other. And so we got the Three of Cups and the Two of Cups for the new moon in the 8th house of Taurus at 12 degrees of Sagittarius. Oh my. All the best to you, Taurus. Pretty cool. Next, we got Gemini. Oh my goodness gracious. I see you, Hope 3344. Thank you for your gifts. Thank you for your contributions. So Gemini, your ruling planet is Mercury, has its conjunction with the Sun, the interior conjunction with the Sun, the star of the show, in Sagittarius, where this lunar cycle begins in your 7th house. Tomorrow, mañana. However, Mercury is going to be leading the charge, be a few degrees away from this new moon, solar eclipse. Mercury will be out of Sagittarius into Capricorn by the 13th of December. However, this new moon is taking place in your 7th house of observations, of projections, of how we see other people and how we project our tale onto them also. However, when we respond, when we find the opportunity to love ourselves and each other, then we can find that we're able to change the narration of these old belief systems and experiences. And it can be very practical, just that packing away and folding our old clothes, our old outfit, that uniform. It's not me anymore. I've changed. I can change. Even those old stories. And so these layers, they fall away, just like the onion or the ionosphere. When we turn ourselves on and we recognize that we can be transparent, when we activate our power consciously, we're able to let go and transmute of so much. The transparency, the authenticity, well, that's a gift. The conversations, that's a connection. The bridge, now that's love. And so, Gemini, when we lose our mind and come to our senses, now that's an opportunity for us to really recreate our stories. This is a new moon in your 7th house solar eclipse. And what we got, 7th house, very nice for the cards which we got. We got the King of Pentacles, which is like staying within your heart, staying within your value, being very practical with your creativity. Lovely. King of Pentacles actually goes out and shows how it's done, right? You're bold, you're courageous, you're the journeyman. But at the same time, we've got the judgments. So sometimes when we put ourselves out there, center stage, you might feel judged. Am I good enough to be center stage? Am I good enough to go and do this? Yes, of course you are. Am I good enough to lead with this type of thing as a pioneer when nobody else has done it before? Have I got permission? We're only judging ourselves. And so we can be the Phoenix rising. Look at that judgment card. It's perfect for this Sagittarius new moon solar eclipse in the 7th house for Gemini. So not only do we have the King of Cups, the judgment, and recognize that it's the 3rd house for Gemini where the sun rules. Leo is the 3rd house for Gemini. And so this reboot is about a shift of your ability to recognize your communications, maybe your projects, maybe it's your social media, which is going to take off in a whole new way because of your deliberate shift of awareness about your contributions. Sagittarius, how can you nurture your profit? How can you nurture your value? How can you recognize that you are very worthy? The moon rules your 2nd house. We've got the 4 of Cups. We've got the 4 of Pentacles. We've got the Judgment card and the King of Pentacles. For the new moon in Sagittarius at 12 degrees of your 7th house for Gemini. Very nice. And as you nurture your value, you can honor your creative communications, projections, and observations in a way that allows you to rise beyond the old stories and recreate yourself through your own image or your own imagination. I love it. King of Pentacles, Judgment, and the Four of Pentacles for Gemini, new moon in your 7th house. Right, let me take a sip of my beverage. We're halfway through. Actually, we're more than halfway through. I see you, Kate Johnson. Greetings to you, and wake up, sleepyheads. I am grateful for you. JKN 2021 said, when was the last lunar cycle? Well, I don't have the day, but we can suggest it was 21 days ago because we got the 3rd quarter moon today. So we're talking about, what, the 6th of November, and it took place at 12 degrees of Scorpio, 180 degrees across the way from Uranus. So we're still in this scorpionic, nocturnal, fixed water lunar cycle, which had a lunar eclipse at the very end of Taurus. So that answers your question, but we're moving between the eclipses in this next 7 days, less than now, as we move towards the new moon solar eclipse in Sagittarius at 12 degrees. And that's what we're talking about. This is what we're squawking about. This is what we're honoring through these moments now. So thank you for your question. It has been a while, hasn't it, sleepyheads? I'm grateful for your support. Thank you for being present, as well as Maria Mateus. Thank you for your presence, your brilliant bunch of beings. Want your personal consultations? You know what to do. Description box below. Get in contact. I'm here to serve you. And we'll arrange a mutually beneficial time to connect. We might even get the opportunity to connect before the solstice. If you get in quick, we can talk about your Venus retrograde, as well as the shift of the nodes into Scorpio and Taurus and moving through into 2022. Right. Okay, next we got Cancer. Yes, Cancer. This is a new moon. Of course, you're ruled by the moon, and this new moon's taking place in your 6th house in Sagittarius at 12 degrees. 6th house is all about our rituals, our routines. It's about our mental health. And it's our rituals and our routines, our habits, which create our habitats. And so we've got to put ourselves into positions that give us self-esteem, that give us good feelings, faith in ourselves, and our credibility. Whether it's yoga, cafes, maybe it's the library, maybe it's about working from home, because that's what we need to nurture our good faith, our profitability. Maybe it's about finding that you want to spend time with your children and you don't want to be working too much. Maybe you want to be retiring. Whatever it is for you, Cancer, you can find that this is a very powerful time to be reborn in your practices and have new habits, rituals, routines in your day-to-day experiences that allow you to anchor frequencies of love frequently in your day-to-day experiences. That is being the new story on the block. That's being the journalist that blogs love into your daily log. And that's very powerful and beautiful for you, Cancer. Obviously, the sun rules your 2nd house. And so this is a very powerful way to reboot your value. I mean, I feel more valuable when I go to the cafe and have a soup, avocado toast, and Americano. That makes me feel like I can come back and do this video and see my client at 5 o'clock. That makes me feel like a good man, because when we find that we meet our needs in our day-to-day rituals, routines, and habits, that love, that self-esteem becomes our habitual process of recognizing ourselves as worthy. And so this new moon in your 6th house, Cancer, it's a whole new beginning for you. We got the Fool card. It's a whole new journey. I love it. Fool card. It's really the 0 in the tarot deck, which means it's actually nonplussed. It's not negative. It's not positive. It's just centered. And this is the sign of the Centaur, Sagittarius. You are the spirit incarnate into the flesh. You are the 0 point. You are the great creation. Even in The Nightmare Before Christmas, which I watched last night, 0 is the name of the dog of Jack Skellington. So we're all the fool, really. And the dog star, well, that's just our tail, man. And so when we recognize that we're able to get real serious with the adaptation of our habits and rituals in our day-to-day experiences, Cancer, this new moon in Sagittarius is a great opportunity to come into the 0 point and go off on a whole new journey. And this card is the Three of Swords. It's the middle Libra. It's actually often where we feel less than because we're projecting our stories, but it's about going beyond the lenses of our observation, being able to go into those communications. And it's often the communications with ourselves, 6th house, within our mental health, which we're able to really bring the greatest softness, acceptance, compassion. If we can have that compassion, softness, and acceptance for ourselves, imagine what we can share with our art. Imagine what kind of message we can share with our work, with our labors of love, with our connections with one another. You are worthy there, Cancer. New moon, 12 degrees of your 6th house in Sagittarius is a solar eclipse, and we got the Three of Swords and Le Fool for you. It's a whole new journey of communicating with yourself and connecting with your perspectives about what you're able to do and giving yourself the permission to be you to the fullest. Wow, goodness gracious. Intelligentsia rising. I'm grateful for you. Thank you for your presence. Next, we got Leo. Well, Leo, it's a big deal for you. Every solar eclipse is, right? Oh, yeah, because this is a new moon solar eclipse. Not only is the sun being rebooted and the sun's your ruling planet, but it's taking place in your 5th house. And you're the 5th sign. And so this is a very powerful shift in how you can recognize your ability to recreate yourself and your story, your belief systems, your whole hero's journey. This is a tremendous moment in recognizing your own empowerment because you can create mastery. And the cards, which we got for you, recognizing this is a new moon, it's your consciousness, it's obviously moon rules your 12th house and the sun rules your 1st house, but it's happening in Sagittarius, your 5th house. And so what we got for you is the Justice card. It's only just, it's only fair when you weigh up the qualities of your own creations. Look at it, it's got the scales, it's a very Libran card. It's about this observation point, it's about your vantage point of your own creative application. Are you creating out here or are you creating in here? Is the quality of your internal and external reference points on an equal pan of the lands, or are you giving away more than you're receiving? Remember to give to yourself as much as you give out externally to others, and then you won't go without. That's the sun, your central fugal nervous system. You burn from the inside out. That's what stars do, baby. So not only do we have the Justice card, but we got the Devil card too. Nobody should be working for anybody else. You are the boss. You are the champion. You are here to let go of the chains of slavery, the old stories that we are chained to, the chainmail. The old narrations, the old hickledy-pickledy docs, the rhymings, the things that we just pick up and I'll just sound like my mum, I'll just sound like my dad, I'll sound like my grandma, whose grandma sounded like them too. Well, this is when we changed the script. Remember what I really featured, and that was this closing square between Saturn and Uranus. This is a real big deal because the cycle started out in Sagittarius. And so you might not have had permission from grandma, from grandpa. You may not have had the permission from your nationality. But as you commandeer what's only just for your own creativity and structure and support yourself externally as well as internally there, Leo, you can create your own hero's journey in a way that allows you to navigate in a whole new manner that's never been done before. You are the boss. You are the author. You are the authority of your own creativity. And this is only fair. Not only do we have the Justice card, the Devil card, but we also got the Queen of Wands. So this is about owning it from the inside and yet leading with it, leading with the change, being the change, activating the change in an inspirational way that invokes a lot of people to think, wow, look at what Leo's doing. As usual, we can learn a lot from the star that is the greatest creator. And so be within your own majesty, be within your own magnitude. We got the Queen of Wands, inspiring from your heart, from the inside out. We got the Devil card, which to say, hey, I ain't submitting, I ain't less than, I'm not buckling to nobody, I am the author of my story. And we got the Justice card, what allows you to weigh it up with your own perception. You can't go far wrong. You're exactly where you're meant to be. Leo, new moon, solar eclipse in your 5th house, 12 degrees of Sagittarius. Very nice indeed. I see you, Jean or Jean G. Thank you for your presence. I'm grateful for you. And Christiza, thank you for your contributions. Next, we got Virgo. Well, Virgo, like Gemini, you're ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is beneath the beams of the sun. It's not visible right now in the underworld, and yet we can find this is a tremendous opportunity for you, Virgo, to really recreate some of the family belief systems, because Mercury's transit through your 4th house, which is where Sagittarius new moon solar eclipse has taken place. And so you can find that you nurture yourself from the ground up. You're seeding consciousness from the root. And this consciousness is a whole new journey of exploration into the family roots, or maybe you're broadening your opportunities to go and live in another country, or maybe it's this new philosophy of home living, maybe you're homeschooling, maybe you're living in a different philosophy than you've ever have done before because you live on a farm and there's different rituals and routines that goes into the expansion of who you are. Well, it's very powerful indeed. And of course, we have the opportunity to see that this is a reboot of your connection to the collective consciousness, with the sun ruling your 12th house, the moon ruling your 11th house. It's about finding the opportunity to feel at home in social spheres of networks, but you have the opportunity to lose your mind, lose the thoughts, lose the old narrations of those old stories, because you know what thought, and it just divides us, it just conquers us. Because when we can let go of the stink of the fortress and come into our heart, then we broaden and accept and have a new story to create artistically from the start. And the 4th house is where it all began. So it's like repackaging, putting away the old stories and creating a blooming new potential. And the cards which we got for you are 9 Wands. Again, very Sagittarius, very fiery, very expansive, a whole new journey. Sometimes you don't know where you're going because you've already just been traveling for so long on this experience. But you can't see the trees for the forest, and that's okay. You've got you, and you've got your experiences, and that's what you're learning about. 9 Wands means that whatever impacts upon you will make you stronger. And not only that, we have the 10 Cups. So it's your emotional vision coming into fullness, coming into completion, coming into the manifestation of your experience. 10 Cups and 9 Wands? Goodness gracious, Virgo. This is harvest. This is the harvest of the autumnal period. This is the last lunar cycle. This is mutable fire in your 4th house, 12 degrees of Sagittarius. It is the completion of the old story and the beginning of a whole new journey. We got the 10 Wands, the 9 Wands, and the 10 Cups. It feels like this is a very karmic time of packing away, finishing, completing, adapting. Very powerful indeed. I love it. This is a new moon of 12 degrees of Sagittarius in your 4th house. And as you see, it's the culmination of a lot of energy that you've already been putting and contributing in for some while. It may be that you're putting endings to stories that your parents might not have been able to, but as you take that responsibility, you're changing the stories for them, for you, and for the future potentials of Earth. All power to you. I love it. 9 Wands, 10 Wands, 10 Cups for Virgo, new moon in your 4th house. It's a solar eclipse. So yeah, it's a massive time for cutting those karmic threads. Threads, they're not just like, you know, this material, like a long dangly material. You know, like when you go on a message board, a thread is this long chainmail. It's this slavery that we carry within our DNA. Like, It's like, hey, I feel so small and contorted. I can't possibly go out of line because I was killed for it in another life. And my mother's mother was killed for it in another life, like for being a pagan, for being an astrologer, for being a witch. But that's our nature. That's who we are. We are astrologers. We are witches. Witchcraft. It's 360 degrees, a circle. This is our sphere. This is our influence. This is astrology. This is the AstroLogos. This is who we are. So yeah, very powerful. We got Libra and Scorpio to do, and then we're done. I'm grateful for you. You're a brilliant bunch of beings. Let's crack on. I see you, Joe G. Thank you for your contributions. Libra, you're ruled by Venus, and Venus is slowing on down. Slowing on down in your 4th house. Your ruling planet is, and it's going to be there until March. 'Tis Venus. Venus is in a conjunction with Pluto. Still sextile Mars though for the next couple of weeks, so you can enjoy some harmonic energies at these times. However, this is a new moon solar eclipse at 12 degrees of Sagittarius in your 3rd house, Libra. This is about a new beginning in your business, maybe, or your immediate environment. I'm a Libra rising, I'm a Libra moon, I'm flying. That's a change of my immediate environment. I'm going to a new part of Mexico that I've never been before. And so this is incredibly exciting, a little bit intimidating, but jolly, jolly exciting. Sagittarius is all about the jovialities. It's all about the jollies. And so Libra, you might be finding this is a great time to have a new way of communicating. Maybe you're learning a new language. Maybe you're putting up a new website. Maybe you're selling yourself in a different way. Maybe you don't need to sell yourself too hard because you're worthy. Maybe it's that people are coming to you and you need to schedule. You're like, I'm overloaded of different appointments. I need to find a calendar. Maybe I can find the opportunity to take it easy and really come up with a different pattern, a different way of doing things, put my stamp on it in a different way. Oh my gosh, Libra, this new moon in Sagittarius in your 3rd house may be about shifting a belief system of limitation about something which was to do with your business, that was to do with your perspective. This is the bridge. This is the 3rd house. This is how we tune up all of our harmonics. You've heard of clairaudience? Yeah? Well, that's when you actually hear truth within yourself when you're communicating to another, or you hear it with some other person who's communicating with you, because we can hear beyond observations truth, because sound, vibration, and frequency, well, it don't lie. It stands up for itself. So Libra, you're perceptive being, you know exactly what's going on for you as you nurture yourself and you speak for the truth within your heart. This is a new moon solar eclipse in your 3rd house. And of course, Leo rules your 11th house, and the sun rules your 11th house. That's where Leo is. So that you might find you're creating new friends, new connections. Maybe you're exploring new environments. We got the Ace of Cups. Again, beautiful card, a new emotional beginning for you in how you communicate with yourself and other people, and with the people that you're sharing your environment with. As you share your environment with people that are near and dear to you, you're able to hold an emotional space for yourself, and they can hold an emotionally nurturing space for you too. Not only do we have the Ace of Cups for this new moon at 12 degrees of Sagittarius solar eclipse, but we also got the Chariot. So we recognize that the Chariot is a very lunar card, and the Ace of Cups is a very emotional. The moon is very emotional. This is a new moon in your 3rd house, and it's a bit like, hey, you are an independent resource. You can go anywhere with your 3rd house. It's not like you've got to carry a shop with you. It's a bit like me. I'm an astrologer. I can work anywhere like a nomad. And so Libra, you might find that this Chariot, your embodiment of your talents, your gifts, the embodiment of your sphere of influence, allows you to go anywhere. You are the crusader. This is a Sagittarius new moon solar eclipse in your 3rd house. And so you're fully equipped. And it's just about shifting your perspective. Maybe you're upping your game and you're upping your sense of self-worth. You're upping your value. Bottom of the pack, we got the 7 of Pentacles. Oh my goodness gracious, with your ruling planet Venus going retrograde. It's just about recognizing that you have been working for a long time and your value is through the roof. It's infinite. And so the limitations of the belief systems, they're falling away. And we're coming into a new echelon, a new octave, a new vibrational stage of our evolution, of our perspective on ourselves and our ability to create within this world. We got the Ace of Cups, the Chariot, and the 7 of Pentacles for the new moon at 12 degrees of Sagittarius in the 3rd house for Libra. I like it. Of course I do. I'm a Libra moon and a Libra ascendant. No favourites. It just is what it is. Right. Lastly, certainly not leastly, we got Scorpio. Oh my goodness gracious, Scorpio, this is the new moon in Sagittarius at 12 degrees of your second house, of your voice box, of your truth. Are you speaking your truth there, Sagittarius? You're all in planet Mars, still in your first house. Not for too much longer. It does make ingress into Sagittarius on about, well, I can't give you the exact date. Oh, yes, I can. I remembered. It's the 13th of December, the same day that Mercury goes into Capricorn. Well, there you go. And so there you go. We're recognizing that Mars will go into the second house. This is going to only add to the activation of you working with your value. And it's about the belief systems of the value. It's about what you've experienced on your journey, broadening the capacity of recognizing your worth at these times. And so you can speak about things and communicate very broadly with a lot of philosophical or wisdom. You bestow it. You are a gift. This new phase of your identity is like a new journey for you with regards to your own profiteering, your own talents. And so you're able to share on another level there. Very powerful indeed. What we got for you, again, we only had it a little while ago, but we got it again. It's the 10 of Cups. This is the completion of your emotional vision. Maybe it's actually that you've been laying down golden bricks for some time, and now you can find that this work is harvesting into mature, fine wine. And it takes time. It takes continual application. It takes 10,000 hours to master your craft, but maybe this is an emotional fulfillment that you've been working with for quite some time. Quite some time indeed. And I feel that this is very powerful for all of us. We're not just starting something new with this new moon after these eclipses. We've been working on things for a long time. We've been loving ourselves for a whole long time. And this is the next layer, the next echelon of our stories. So this new moon at 12 degrees of Sagittarius, solar eclipse in the second house for Scorpio, we have the 10 cups and the 7 swords. And so it's very powerful for you to recognize the projections. The last full moon was a lunar eclipse in your 7th house there, Scorpio. And so many emotional stories have fallen away. And so this is about a new perception, a new creation. We're having a new beginning in your self-worth. How are you going to add layers of paint? How are you going to adapt your story? How are you narrating your experience? How are you recognizing when the old stories come up? And just to repackage them, dust them off, put them down, let them go, accept and flow. Even if we recognize other people running on old scripts, we can allow them. We don't have to beat them. There's no competition. We'd have to tell them they're wrong. We can accept and allow them to untangle themselves. And in doing that, we untangle ourselves in the process. 7 swords. And the 10 of Cups is your emotional fulfillment. It is actually the recognition that you are worthy of happiness, emotional contentment, and the striving, the reaching. You don't have to. It's all yours. You're worthy. Second house, new moon, 12 degrees of Sagittarius, solar eclipse for Scorpio. And we've got the 10 of Cups and the 7 of Swords. Wow. Exciting. Exciting, isn't it? Well, we've still got a week yet. And so how are you able to process? It's just showing up, isn't it? When you show up for yourself, as we show up for ourselves, as the center, we set the stage, we set the standard. And it's this setting of standards in our day-to-day rituals and routines, in the way that we communicate with ourselves, the way that we hold faith, the way we let go of these doubts and honor them and recognize that knowing doubt's okay. Even coming up to a roadblock, what we thought was not going to open up for us. Maybe coming up to recognize all of these failures helped us. All of these no's helped us reach our yes. And now, yes, we're able to say we can. Yes, we're able to say we're able. Oh, yes, 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 we can go on our whole new hero's journey as we move from this 3rd quarter moon off the back of the Taurian lunar cycle that began back in Scorpio, moving into the rising phoenix. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. The demise of what was is the perfect ingredient to recreate a brand new story. It is the demise of these old layers that allows us to find the fertility to bloom into our greatest potential, moving beyond limitations. We don't even have to hold expectations or projections, because what we can have attracting and being brought to us as we buy into ourselves can be bigger, more grandiose, and more perfect or ideal than any projection or expectation that's from a limited idea from the past. So just be open. Be a pen for the universe. Be a conduit for the source. Be you to the fullest, because you are beauty incarnate into the flesh. Nothing compares to you. You're so worthy. Thank you for being grateful for you. Thank you for loving yourself from the inside out and out here too. You are so dearly appreciated. If you want a consultation with me, I will hold this space. It's a bit different when we're one-on-one. I don't talk like this. We talk a little bit more like this. How you doing? How's it going? Oh, really? This is your experience? Wow. This is your ambition? Well, you can, you're able. And then we go into the chart. We hold a space for your experiences. We pull it up on the screen like I have with this chart earlier, with this new moon solar eclipse. And we walk you through all the transits in application to your own personal, unique birth chart. I'm able to hold a space for relationship charts, synastry. Maybe it's with your children, maybe it's with your parents, maybe it's with your lovers or some colleagues or some others. We can do a whole lot together. I'm here to serve you. Follow the links in the description box below. We'll arrange a mutually beneficial time to connect. Other than that, thank you for your contributions in the live chat today, Joshua and Serlin and Karen. You're all a brilliant bunch of beings. This is a very powerful time. This is a reset as we move through the last section of the autumnal period. Thank you for loving yourself. Thank you for holding a space of grace. I'm going to catch you on the flip side. Cheerio for now.